It is Tuesday, May 12. Welcome to CGN News. The Jamaican government has announced new curfew hours ahead of the Labor Day weekend. In addition, certain restrictions on bars have also been lifted. At a press conference yesterday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said as of May 13, the current nightly curfew will be relaxed, allowing for more hours for people to move about. However, over the Labor Day weekend of May 24 to 25, it will be tightened from 3 p.m. to 8 a.m. As of May 19, bars will be allowed to open from 11 a.m. They must, however, be closed during the curfew hours. Only 5 persons, including the bartender, are allowed on premises. Churches will also be allowed to resume services. However, the Prime Minister said they will be subjected to new guidelines as the government seeks to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Churches will be required to do temperature checks on people entering the building. A high-ranking United States Democratic Congressman, Hakeem Jeffries, has strongly urged American politicians and diplomats not to interfere in Guyana's disputed March 2 elections. The Guyana Elections Commission's GCOM is currently conducting a countrywide recount of all ballots in the presence of Caribbean community scrutineers.
If we are alarmed at foreign interference in our electoral process, why in the world is the United States government engaging in foreign interference in the affairs of an independent nation in Guyana? It's outrageous. Now, traditionally, we can monitor how democracy is playing itself out in different parts of the world, but to interfere in such an extraordinary way and in a manner that appears to favor one party, the opposition party, potentially to the detriment of the ruling party, is deeply troubling to a lot of us in Washington, D.C.
Jeffries, whose district encompasses large parts of Brooklyn and Queens, New York, with a significant concentration of Caribbean immigrants, made the comment because U.S. government officials have made several threatening statements against officials of President David Granger's ruling APNU and AFC coalition government, as well as against GCOM officials. He called on U.S. government officials to allow the Guyanese people to freely elect its government without interference from them. The Trinidadian government is making plans for students at University West Indies campuses across the region to return home. National Security Minister Stuart Young is in discussions with Caribbean Airlines to charter a flight to bring students back home in the first week of June. Young said that special conditions would apply to these students returning to the Twin Republic. He explained that these students will first undergo a 2-week quarantine in Barbados and Jamaica before being brought to Trinidad and Tobago. Immediately on their arrival in Trinidad and Tobago, they will enter another 14-day state quarantine. The minister said the move is part of the government's effort to manage its COVID-19 response as it relates to the country's borders and returning nationals. Dismissing any speculation that the government abandoned its nationals abroad, Young stated that every step taken regarding COVID-19 measures has been under the guidance of public health officials. Further overseas, sex workers in Zambia are helping to trace people who have contracted coronavirus after a surge in new infections at the border town of Nakonde. Health Minister Chitalu Chilufya said 76 of 85 reported new cases in the northern town were either sex workers or lorry drivers. Chilufya stated that sex workers have been very cooperative and they have been giving the ministry leads in contact tracing. Zambia has confirmed 265 COVID-19 infections with 7 deaths. Last week, President Edgar Lungu announced the reopening of restaurants, casinos and gyms after a month-long shutdown to enforce social distancing measures. The situation in Nakonde remains grave and has ordered the border to be temporarily closed. Nakonde streets are usually lined by lorries leaving Zambia or entering from neighboring Tanzania. Lorry drivers are seen as a high-risk group because they stop at several towns along the way and are known to have multiple sex partners. The Chinese city of Wuhan is drawing up plans to test its entire population of 11 million people for COVID-19, state media reports. The plan appears to be in its early stages, with all districts in Wuhan told to submit details as to how testing could be done within 10 days. It comes after Wuhan, where the virus first emerged, recorded 6 new cases over the weekend. Prior to this, it had seen no new cases at all since April 3. Wuhan, which was in strict lockdown for 11 weeks, began reopening on April 8. For a while, it seemed like life was getting back to normal as schools reopened, businesses slowly emerged, and public transport resumed operations. But the emergence of a cluster of cases, all from the same residential compound, has now threatened the move back to normalcy. Dozens of Indian and Chinese soldiers have exchanged physical blows in a clash on the shared border, Indian media reports. 7 Chinese and 4 Indian troops were injured near the Naku La sector in the border state of Sikkim, 5,000 meters from the Himalayas. Local commanders spoke and resolved the issue. The two countries have competing claims over the shared 3,400-kilometer border. Sometimes standoffs include chest bumping, pushing and shoving, and throwing stones at each other. China and India fought a war over the border in 1962. In 2017, the two countries also clashed in the region after China tried to extend a border road through a disputed plateau. Though both countries send out patrols that often engage in physical standoffs, no bullet has been fired over the border in the last 4 decades. That's it for CGN News. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Scott Wilson.